Welcome to Stamps Old World UK, the channel where we explore the history, beauty, and real market value of classic postage stamps from around the world. Today's video is dedicated to one of the most famous and widely collected stamps of the United States, the Pony Express commemorative stamp, and we will also talk in detail about how stamp market value works today in US dollars, what collectors should look for, and why condition and demand matter more than the face value printed on the stamp. The stamp you are seeing represents the United States Pony Express 80th anniversary issue, released in the year 1940. It has a face value of 3 cents and is printed in a striking red color. The design shows a Pony Express rider galloping at full speed, carrying mail across dangerous and rough terrain. This image symbolizes speed, bravery, and the early efforts to connect the eastern and western parts of the United States before the age of railroads and modern communication. Even though the Pony Express only operated from 1860 to 1861, it became a powerful symbol of American postal history, which is why this stamp remains so popular among collectors today. Now let us talk about the most important question for collectors and viewers of Stamps Old World UK, which is the market value of this stamp today in US dollars. First, it is very important to understand that the value of a stamp is not fixed. The market value depends on condition, whether the stamp is used or unused, whether it still has original gum on the back, the quality of centering, the sharpness of the design, and whether there are any faults, such as tears, thin spots, creases, or heavy cancellations. Two stamps that look similar at first glance can have very different values in the market. In today's stamp market, a used Pony Express 3-cent stamp from 1940 in average condition usually sells for around 1 to 3 US dollars. If the stamp is used with a heavy cancellation, poor centering, or visible wear, the value can be closer to $1 or even less. On the other hand, a clean used copy with a light, neat cancellation and good centering can reach the higher end of that range and sometimes slightly more, depending on demand and the seller. When we look at unused examples, the value increases. An unused Pony Express stamp without original gum may sell for around 3 to 6 US dollars. However, an unused stamp with full original gum, no hinge marks, and strong color is more desirable. In that condition, the market value today is usually in the range of 8 to 15 US dollars. Exceptionally well-centered mint examples, often described as very fine or extremely fine, can sell for 20 US dollars or more, especially if they are graded or sold by a reputable dealer or auction house. It is also important to understand that stamp values can change over time. The stamp market today is influenced by online platforms, international collectors, and changing interests. While classic stamps from the 19th century often receive the most attention, strong 20th century commemoratives like the Pony Express stamp still have a solid collector base. Many collectors focus on thematic collecting, such as transportation, horses, American history, or postal services, and this stamp picks perfectly into all those themes. Another key factor affecting market value is supply. The Pony Express commemorative was printed in large quantities, which means it is not rare. Because of this, it will never reach extremely high prices like some early classic US stamps. However, popularity, historical importance, and visual appeal keep its value stable. For beginner collectors, this stamp is an excellent example of how a historically important stamp can still be affordable while remaining desirable. For anyone collecting stamps today, especially viewers of Stamps Old World UK, it is very important to buy stamps based on condition and personal interest, not just price. A well-preserved stamp with clear design and good centering will always be more enjoyable to own and easier to sell or trade in the future. Always store stamps properly in stock books or albums, away from moisture and sunlight, and avoid touching the surface with bare fingers to protect the paper and ink.
Next up, the 3-cent stamp honoring General George S. Patton Jr. and the Armored Forces of the U.S. Army. This stamp is a powerful tribute to military history and remains an important collectible for philatelists around the world. The stamp you are seeing was issued by the United States Postal Service in 1953. It has a face value of 3 cents and is printed in a deep blue color. The design features a strong portrait of General George S. Patton Jr., one of the most well-known American military leaders of the Second World War. In the background, the stamp shows tanks advancing across a battlefield, symbolizing the armored forces that played a crucial role in modern warfare. This stamp was issued to honor both the man and the military innovation that helped shape 20th century history. General George S. Patton Jr. was known for his leadership, discipline, and bold strategies. Because of his historical significance, this stamp attracts not only stamp collectors, but also military history enthusiasts. Stamps that honor famous historical figures often maintain steady interest in the market, and this is one of the reasons why this issue continues to be collected today. Now, let us discuss the market value of this stamp in today's US dollar terms. As with all stamps, the value depends heavily on condition, centering, and whether the stamp is used or unused. This stamp was printed in large quantities, which means it is not rare, but demand remains stable because of its subject and strong design. A used example of the General Patton 3-cent stamp in average condition typically sells for around $1 to $2. If the stamp has a heavy cancellation, poor centering, or visible wear, such as creases or thin paper, the value may be closer to $1 or even less. However, a clean used copy with a light cancellation and good centering can sell for $2 to $3, especially when sold as part of a military-themed collection. Unused examples generally have a higher market value. An unused stamp without original gum may sell for around $3 to $5. A mint example with full original gum and no hinge marks is more desirable to collectors. In today's market, such a stamp usually sells in the range of $6 to $12. Very well-centered mint copies in excellent condition can sometimes reach $15 or slightly more, particularly if sold by a trusted dealer or included in a high-quality collection. It is important for collectors to understand that 20th century commemorative stamps like this one are valued more for their historical and thematic appeal than for rarity. Many collectors specialize in military history, World War II themes, or famous leaders, and this stamp fits perfectly into those collections. Because of this, demand remains steady even though supply is plentiful. For viewers of Stamps Old World UK who are building a collection, this is a great example of a meaningful and affordable collectible. It shows how stamp collecting is not only about investment, but also about preserving history and learning through small pieces of paper that traveled the world. Proper storage is essential. Always keep stamps in protective albums or stockbooks, avoid humidity, and handle stamps carefully to prevent damage.
Next up, the 3-cent Thomas Jefferson commemorative issue, a stamp that represents early 20th century American history and remains an important piece for collectors worldwide. The stamp you are seeing was issued in 1904 as part of the Louisiana Purchase Exposition commemorative series. It has a face value of 3 cents and is printed in a rich purple color. The central portrait on the stamp is Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States and the key figure behind the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. This historic land deal doubled the size of the United States and shaped the future of the nation. The stamp was issued to commemorate the Louisiana Purchase Exposition held in St. Louis, which celebrated progress, expansion, and American achievement. This stamp holds special importance because it belongs to one of the earliest large commemorative series issued by the United States. At the time, commemorative stamps were still a relatively new concept, and this series helped establish the tradition of using stamps to honor major historical events and figures. Because of this, the Thomas Jefferson 3-cent stamp is often collected not only for its design, but also for its place in philatelic history. Now, let us focus on the market value of this stamp in today's US dollar terms. As always, condition is the most important factor. Even though this stamp is over a century old, it was printed in very large quantities. This means it is considered common in the stamp market, but age, historical importance, and demand still give it steady value. A used example of the Thomas Jefferson 3-cent stamp in average condition typically sells for around $2 to $5. If the stamp has a heavy or messy cancellation, poor centering, or visible flaws such as creases or thin spots, the value may fall closer to the lower end of that range. However, a clean used copy with good centering and a light, attractive cancellation can sell for $5 to $8, especially when offered by a reputable dealer. Unused examples are more desirable and generally command higher prices. An unused stamp without original gum may sell for around $8 to $15. A mint example with full original gum and no hinge marks is significantly more valuable. In today's market, such a stamp usually sells in the range of $20 to $40. Exceptionally well-centered mint copies in very fine or extremely fine condition can sometimes reach $50 or more, particularly if they are certified or sold at specialized auctions. It is also important to understand that early commemorative stamps like this one are often collected as complete sets. Collectors who aim to complete the full Louisiana Purchase Exposition series are willing to pay a premium for better condition examples. This demand helps keep the market value stable, even though the stamp itself is not rare. For collectors watching Stamps Old World UK, this stamp is a perfect example of how age alone does not guarantee extreme value, but historical significance and condition can still make a stamp very desirable. It also shows how stamp collecting allows us to hold history in our hands. A small piece of paper like this once carried mail across the country and now serves as a window into the past. To protect the value of stamps like this, proper storage is essential. Always store stamps in acid-free albums or stockbooks, keep them away from humidity and direct sunlight, and handle them carefully with stamp tongs whenever possible. These simple steps help preserve both condition and value over time. In conclusion, the United States 3-cent Thomas Jefferson commemorative stamp from 1904 is a classic piece of American philately. In today's stamp market, its value in U.S. dollars typically ranges from around $2 for lower-grade used copies to $50 or more for high-quality mint examples. While it is not rare, its historical importance, age, and strong collector interest make it a valuable and respected stamp. Thank you for watching Stamps Old World UK, and continue joining us as we explore more old stamps and their true market value in today's world of stamp collecting.